Welcome, everyone, to the NoDQ.com live recap of AEW Dynamite for September 3rd, 2025. We are on the road to AEW All Out in Toronto, which is now having an earlier start time, 3 p.m. Eastern, instead of the usual 8 p.m. start time. AEW moving the show to an earlier time to avoid direct competition with WWE. Now, of course, AEW shows go long, and I'm fully expecting the first hour or so, or maybe even more than an hour, of All Out to go head to head with the start of WWE's WrestlePalooza Premium Live event. Shout out to everybody in the chat room watching this live or on demand. Thank you for watching. Michael Wayne is here, always negative on AEW. Matthew is a mixed bag. Sometimes he says something positive about AEW. Well, let's go ahead and break it down. I know people have mixed feelings about AEW at this point. I still do these recaps. I'm still watching, so the ball keeps rolling. We had Gabe Kidd coming out. This show once again in Philadelphia at the 2300 Arena, the former ECW Arena. He called out Darby Allin. Darby quickly came out there and fought with Gabe Kidd. Kidd exposed the turnbuckle, but that backfired on him. And then Wheeler Yuta came out there for a distraction. Darby had a plan, though. He pulled out his skateboard from under the ring that had thumbtacks on it, and he stomped Yuta with the skateboard. Yuta had the thumbtacks in his back. Then the rest of the Death Riders showed up. The lights went out, and the lounge singer Hook showed up. But then the Ops came out there and ran right past Hook and brawled with the Death Riders. Then Gabe Kidd and Darby fought in the backstage area. Kidd tried to use a hammer, but that did not work. And then Darby got the upper hand. He put Gabe Kidd in a body bag and drove off. The body bag was chained to Darby's vehicle, and Darby just drove off with him. It reminds me of when The Undertaker tied up Hulk Hogan and then drove Hogan around the building with his motorcycle. Very similar to that. Solid opening to the show. I'll say that much. A little chaotic to kick things off. We had our first match of the evening, which also happened to be the only women's match on the show. They got the women's match out of the way early. Mercedes Moné versus Alex Windsor. Match was decent, but I think it went on a bit too long, and I was almost thinking they were going to go the full 20 minutes and have the draw. I just didn't really care that much about the match, and I don't see Mercedes dropping the TBS title on a random Dynamite, so I kind of lost interest in this one after a few minutes. It was competitive, though. Alex got in some offense. She did a cannonball off the ring apron, and then she targeted the knee of Mercedes, but Mercedes grabbed at the hair, power bombed her on the apron, and then we had a commercial break. Alex managed to get a sharpshooter on, but it was outside of the ring, and Mercedes is tapping, of course. And then Mercedes manages to beat the 10 count because everybody does. And then Mercedes eventually got the win. After the match was over, Alex offered a handshake. Mercedes blew her off. Alex was pissed about this. She attacked Mercedes, but then Mercedes got the upper hand on Alex after Alex attacked her after the match. So you really made Alex look like a loser here. Not just the fact that she lost the match, but she attacks Mercedes and then Mercedes gets the best of her again. Interesting. Then we had the return of Riho, who, of course, was the first AEW Women's Champion. I don't even remember the last time she was on TV, and I believe she's been on hiatuses before. I know she's had various issues, visa issues, whatnot, but she's back, and they officially confirmed that Mercedes will defend her TBS championship against Riho at All Out. What are you guys thinking about this one? Is Riho the one that ends Mercedes' TBS championship run? What do you think? Yes or no? It's Riho's first match back. Well, maybe not necessarily, but her first title match since returning. Will she be the one to dethrone Mercedes? Let me know your thoughts on that one. I'm not really sure. If not Riho, who else? Who else can they put in that spot to beat Mercedes? I just don't feel it's going to be Riho, but we'll see. Backstage, Hook confronted the Ops. He's a little bit annoyed with them for running out there. He said he can fight his own battles, and he's pissed off that they replaced him so quickly when he got injured. And Joe said it was just a matter of an opportunity coming along, and Hobbs had stepped up. He said he didn't save Hook because they were out there to take care of the business with the Death Riders. But he said at some point, Hook is going to need some help, and it's good to have friends. Storyline is mildly interesting to me, although Hook's music is terrible. Actually, the Ops have even worse music, if that's possible. At least we can make fun of Hook's music for having a lounge singer over a rap beat. But the Ops, their music is so generic, I can't even make fun of it. It's that bland. Apparently, Riho's last match was World's End. That's crazy. 2023, it's really been that long? Jeez, I didn't think it was that long. Ricochet and the Gates of Agony had a backstage interview, and they basically said the Hurt Syndicate have been living on past legacies, and they issued a challenge for All Out. It's going to be Ricochet and the Gates of Agony against the Hurt Syndicate. I don't really care about it too much. I expect the Hurt Syndicate to win this one, but yeah, just feels like a throwaway match. Mark Briscoe came to the ring for a promo, and he talked about the 2300 Arena being where him and his brother Jay fell in love with wrestling. He called out the Don Callis family, and then Don Callis revealed that Mark Briscoe will be facing Takeshita on Collision. Yes, they're actually doing this match on Collision instead of Dynamite. I guess after they drew under 200,000 viewers this past weekend for Collision, they need to try to build up the numbers a little bit. But Briscoe wanted a fight, so they put Briscoe in there with Lance Archer. Lance Archer being the setup for the match the match between Briscoe and Takeshita at Collision. Okay. Match was all right, but I mean, Archer, to me, never had a snowball's chance in hell of winning this. Guy who's nearly 7 foot tall, he's basically just enhancement talent. So it was fine, but this was a Collision match. They flipped it. The Takeshita match should be on Dynamite, and the Archer match should be on Collision. I mean, come on. So that was one thing. And then the other one that I was thinking in my mind was, what happened to Wardlow? Correct me if I'm wrong, but I did not see Wardlow anywhere on this show. And he came back, big return, and I didn't even see him out there with Don Callis. No Wardlow, not even a squash match. Just have Wardlow come out there. This is Philadelphia. Have Wardlow come out there and just beat people up. Like, where is he? Why is he not doing anything again? This is what I feared with Wardlow. Anyways, Wardlow being on this show would have been way more interesting than this. You had Archer choke slamming Briscoe a couple of times, once on the apron, and then did another one on the steps. Third one in the ring. But of course, Briscoe kicked out because Mark Briscoe is tougher than Lance Archer, and Briscoe avoided the blackout, and he power bombed Archer out of the corner and won with the froggy elbow. No surprise here whatsoever. I mean, come on. Briscoe's not losing when he's got a match against Takeshita on Collision. Then we had a little before the show promo from Toni Storm. Why isn't Toni Storm in front of the fans? Why do they have her doing a pre-tape? I don't know. Toni Storm is somebody who interacts with the crowd. I feel like she's better with the fans. Like, why are you having her doing pre-tapes? Anyways, she talked about being the baddest batshit bitch in the 2300 arena and invited any woman to step up to her. So I don't know if it's going to be Billy Starks or somebody low on the totem pole, but yeah. Apparently somebody will be fighting Toni Storm at some point. Then we had a backstage promo from Harley Cameron, who was acting, I think, like a cat. I'm not even sure what she was doing. And Chris Statlander was with her, and Harley said they wanted to fight Brodito for the tag titles, and then Wheeler Yuta came in and said the Death Riders had their back, and then Marina Shafir had a stare down with Chris Statlander. I don't know what I missed here, if something happened on Collision last week, but I don't even know what this storyline's about. So, yeah, not sure why Harley Cameron was acting like a cat. I know she had the nose injury, and that's why she's wearing the mask. But beyond that, I was a little bit confused on this one. And then we had the tag team titles up for grabs. We had Brodito going up against Wheeler Yuta and Claudio. It was a good match. It was fine. I liked when Brody King and Claudio were chopping each other and beating each other up a little bit. And then it was your standard tag match for a while with the bad guys getting the upper hand. And then Brody came in. Then Brodito picked up some momentum, did some double teaming. But then we had the shenanigans. Marina Shafir grabbed Bandito's foot. Death Riders regained the upper hand. Jon Moxley threw Brody into the ring post while Marina was distracting the referee. Then Darby Allin came out there and went after Moxley. Brodito regrouped. They got the win, 1, 2, 3. It was mostly to set up Moxley and Darby Allin for All Out. So it served its purpose. Then we had a very brief backstage promo from Okada, asked about Takeshita, and he just said he's the top dog in the Don Callis family. I mean, I think they're going to be turning Takeshita face at some point, and they'll set up him versus Okada. We had MVP and the Hurt Syndicate out in the parking lot. MVP called Ricochet a whining hater and said that he's setting a bad example for the Gates of Agony, and they officially accepted the challenge for All Out. Boy, oh boy, I cannot wait to see the Gates of Agony on the All Out pay-per-view. But hey, I'm getting a discount now. Instead of $50, it's $40. Hey, it's something. It adds up. If you have HBO, you got to have HBO. That's the catch. If you have HBO, you can now buy an AEW pay-per-view on HBO for $40 instead of $50. It will save money. If you have HBO, you're going to save 20% on every pay-per-view. And, that's going to add up $80 or $90 a year more in your pocket. So it's something. I mean, I don't think it's ideal, especially when the WWE ESPN deal at worst is $30 a month. I was hoping they would have gone closer to $30 or even $29.99 just to stick it to WWE. But nope, $40. That will be the price of admission for AEW if you have HBO Max moving forward. We had Adam Copeland come into the ring and he was jumped by FTR, and Christian ran down, and we had our pull apart brawl. Kind of weak, in my opinion. I'm not a fan of doing the pull apart brawls all the time. It was just the same one we've seen a million times. Let them fight, let them fight. And Dax got busted open at some point, and then they did a spike pile driver to one of the indie wrestlers. They had security and indie wrestlers out there to break this up. And then there was some other guy. His name is Adam Priest. Makes me think of Adam Pearce and Damian Priest. Adam Priest, generic CAW wrestler, number 5. So yeah, they got some storyline with this guy in the midst of all this. I'm not sure what this is about, but he was mad, and he actually confronted FTR backstage, and they issued a tag team match challenge. I do not have any interest in this whatsoever. Like, you're just picking some random indie wrestler to have a match with FTR en route to All Out, on top of doing a pull apart brawl. I don't know. I wasn't feeling it. We had our main event of the evening, which was Hangman Adam Page, the world champion, with Kenny Omega and JetSpeed against Kyle Fletcher, Josh Alexander, and the Young Bucks. They showed some footage of the Young Bucks at a meet and greet, doing the old school meet and greets, but they did have their regular music for their entrance, so no more Bop by Hanson. Things quickly broke down, and the good guys did the 4 stereo dives to the outside of the ring. Then we got order restored after the break. One of the highlights of the match was Alexander was going for a pile driver to Mike Bailey on the barricade, and Kevin Knight came off the top rope with a flying clothesline to make the save. I like that. That was maybe the coolest spot of the show. And then Fletcher went after Knight, and the Young Bucks did the TK driver to Bailey on the floor. And then we had another commercial break. Omega got the hot tag. And then we had a cool moment where we had a little throwback to Revolution in 2020. It was Page and Omega going at it with the Young Bucks for a few minutes. We had things break down again. And then Fletcher pinned Knight with the brainbuster. And then we had what I thought was the highlight of the show, which was the final segment. We had the post-match attack, Don Callis family out there, and Fletcher ended up giving Page a brainbuster on a steel chair, but he wasn't done. Fletcher then gave Omega a brainbuster off the apron through a table below. Fletcher messed up his back. If you think about like 2006 when Bob Holly, Hardcore Holly, got his back all lacerated, very similar to that. He was bleeding, and they had the stretcher and neck brace for Omega. The only thing, and I agree with Matthew on this, we've seen quite a few injury angles between WWE and AEW. And, they're overdoing it now. And, it's not necessarily AEW's fault. I mean, it's just the timing of it, that we just saw something at the Paris show with Roman Reigns being taken out in an injury angle. So, yeah, I think both companies, I'm putting the blame on both companies. They're both overdoing it. But all in all, I did think it was a good angle. And I did think it was effective in elevating Fletcher. They're really trying to groom him as the future of the future of the company and be the top heel. So he takes out 2 of the top guys, Omega and Page, on the same show. So I did like that. And all in all, I thought Dynamite was okay. To me, it felt very much like a filler show. And the problem is, while the wrestling is good, I really don't have much investment right now in any of the storylines. Even FTR versus Cope and Christian, I feel like FTR should be the tag team champions right now, first of all. And second, doing the pull apart brawl, it just does nothing for me. And then they bring this indie wrestler in the mix. Like I don't understand why this is happening. So it kind of took me out of that match a little bit. And you know, I feel like the point of these shows is to get me hyped for the pay-per-view, and I'm just not feeling it right now. Moxley versus Darby, I don't know. I'm just not feeling it. So I'm going 4 out of 10. I think it was a little below par this week. You know, for an ECW vibe, like it just didn't measure up to what you might expect for a show at the old ECW arena. Like it kind of felt like what it felt like to me was back in the day when WWE or TNA would tape a month's worth of TV shows in the little small building. And this was week 2 of that taping. Even though this was a live show, it just kind of felt like, you know, this is a filler show. It's these 8-man and 8 women, these all-star tag matches. Just feels like they're throwing cards together. Like it's like a glorified indie show. That's what it felt like. And it was all right, but it just came off to me like your glorified independent wrestling show. Other than the final angle, which did feel a little bit more impactful, but everything else to me was very forgettable. So I'm going 4 out of 10. I just wasn't that into this week's show. Well, we got a few more weeks until All Out. We'll see if they can build up the hype for it. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. I know, you know, some people are upset. It feels like most of the people that are still watching these AEW recaps don't even like the show. Like Matthew gave it 4 out of 10. Michael Wayne gave it 3 out of 10. Like, yeah, so I'm going to keep doing the recaps, but it doesn't seem like there's a whole lot of interest in AEW right now. But I'm going to keep going and keep recapping the shows. Hopefully they can pick things up in the coming weeks. But yeah, right now, All Out. I'm glad it's at 3, so I can at least focus on All Out. If they were running at 8 o'clock, I don't know. I really don't know what I was going to do for those 2 shows. Like it would have been pretty much impossible to cover both at the same time. So I would have had to have made a decision. But thankfully, at least worst case scenario, I got the 1 hour, maybe a little bit more, where I'll have to try to watch both at the same time. Stay tuned to No DQ. We got more coverage coming up. We got SmackDown on Friday, which should be a memorable one. Chicago, sold out crowd at the Allstate Arena. I actually thought about going, but I looked at the ticket prices and I was like, no, thank you. It is insane how expensive those WWE shows have gone. Like over $200 for nosebleeds. I mean, it is nuts. No can do for me. But hey, should be a memorable show. I'll see you guys Friday night for that. Much love and support to all of you. Say yes to No DQ, and I will see you all next time.